are you today? So, in my last live stream, I did do recaps as we went, and at the beginning of everything that we've covered so far as it relates to the Randazzo family. So if you want to see the recaps and catch up, you can just go click through the recaps on the very last one I did. The playlist is linked in the description. So for today, what we're going to do is I'm going to just basically get right into it. I tried to find court records on the physical altercation of 1994 within the Randazzo family. I could not find court records, but I did find another separate article. I have not read that article yet, but we're going to read that together and see if there is any new information that comes to light. Before we do that though, I'm not going to do an actual recap, partly because I already did it, but also partly because some of the other articles I've pulled up today, we haven't gone over them yet, but they are basically going to be recapping what we've already covered. I found a couple of articles as it relates to one of them being the Mr. Salvador Randazzo's suspension as an attorney from the Louisiana State Bar, and the other one relates, it's a different article about the history of the Randazzo King Cake family business that I want to go over. And I also found, I believe it's an LSU forum because it's called Tiger Droppings, but I found a different forum as it relates to the Randazzo King Cake situation, and they're comparing Randazzo's to a New York City place called Ray's Pizza. I don't know shit about New York City, so I don't really have an opinion on that because I don't know. But that forum, other people have commented a lot more information also about the Randazzo family, as well as their opinions about the King Cakes in general. So I thought for funsies we could check that out. Then we're going to move into the 1994 altercation, as well as the possible lawsuit of 1995, if I'm not mistaken, from Mr. Salvador's father, Lawrence, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we'll be going over, I'm going to talk a little bit about that in relation to the Family Feuds. We'll go over into the article I found about that physical altercation, the new article that I haven't read yet. And then we're going to finish off with some Judy records. I'm going to try to be real mindful of these Judy records, so I'll try and make sure, like, I'm not going to show you all of the records because I'm trying not to reveal information. Last time I wasn't mindful of that when I was going through the legal records the last few times, but to my belief, I do believe that the addresses posted were for the attorneys' businesses, if I'm not mistaken. I hope I'm not wrong, but I think they're for the law offices, so I think we're fine. But in this case, I believe these are their personal addresses, and so I'm gonna try not to show that on the screen and stuff like that, but we're gonna go over a few court records as it relates to the Randazzo family, two of them as it relates to legal action within the family against each other, and then a third one as it relates to I found a legal action from Capital One against Mr. Salvador Randazzo that we'll review as well. And then after that, we'll just kind of wrap up with my final thoughts on what I processed about the situation and all of that at the end. So yeah, we're here now. That's what the fuck we're going to do today. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to roll my intro and then we shall get this bitch started. Hi, my name is Alexis, also known as Lexi or Deaf Child. I was born deaf, hard of hearing. I began doing business as Deaf Child 2013, marketing 2011, sales 2009. I've earned 50 plus certifications in marketing and sales. My Bachelor of Science from Loyola University, New Orleans, with a music industry studies major and a business administration minor. Deafness runs in my family genetically. Speech is not fully accessible to me. Anyway, I'm here to bitch about whatever the fuck is on my mind. So here we go. Visit my site at noladeafchild.com. Okay, so first things first, what we're going to do is get into this little article here. It's going to kind of recap the very first video we did on this situation. I don't know what the fuck ALAB stands for, so whatever. So it's from ALAB News staff writer. I don't know, that's anonymous. But I'm assuming it has to do with like Attorney of Louisiana or Board or something like that. I don't know. I'm making shit up. I have no fucking clue what the fuck that means. But anyway, I could probably look into that on the website, but I didn't. So it's called Louisiana Attorney Salvador Randazzo suspended for improper conduct towards judge. And it's from September 23rd, 2025. And it says here, on Wednesday, September 10th, 2025, the Louisiana Supreme Court suspended attorney Salvador Randazzo from practicing law for 3 years, with 18 months deferred. The suspension stems from formal charges filed by the Office of Disciplinary Counsel following complaints by Judge Darren Roy of the 34th Judicial District Court. The case is entitled In the Matter of Salvador Randazzo, with case number 2025B0772. The disciplinary proceedings arose from Randazzo's conduct during a case in Judge Roy's court, specifically docket number 15-1017. I'm just now realizing I could use the docket number to verify if I got the correct case or not. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna not do that right now, but I'm gonna use these docket numbers to verify if I got the correct cases and update with a correction if needed. Anyway, so anyway, it says specifically this case involving the Randazzo family. Judge Roy Judge Roy alleged that between May 5th and May 26, 2021, Randazzo made inappropriate statements in phone calls and voicemails to the judge's office and staff. These statements included derogatory remarks about parties involved in the litigation and judges who had previously presided over the case, discussions about the litigation itself, and inquiries to the judge's staff about how Judge Roy might rule on various issues. Randazzo also made statements about potential future actions depending on Judge Roy's rulings, discussed disciplinary complaints he had filed against other attorneys and judges, and questioned a staff member about her family and work history. He also referenced a judge who had served time in federal prison, implying Judge Roy should avoid a similar fate, and accused Judge Roy of favoring other parties. Following these communications, Judge Roy issued an order on May 27, 2021, directing all parties to contact the court via email only. However, Randazzo continued to send emails containing unnecessary ex parte information and statements intended to influence the judge, including false statements about Judge Roy's integrity. In addition to the phone calls and emails, Judge Roy's complaint cited 2 pleadings filed by Randazzo containing false accusations and statements demonstrating a reckless disregard for the truth regarding Judge Roy's integrity. These pleadings included accusations that Judge Roy deliberately withheld court orders to impede Randazzo's appellate rights, and that the judge had engaged in ex parte communications. The ODC, Office of Disciplinary Counsel, alleged that Randazzo's conduct violated several rules of professional conduct, including rules against seeking to influence a judge improperly, engaging in ex parte communications, making false statements about a judge's qualifications or integrity, and engaging in conduct prejudicial to the administration of justice. The hearing committee, after a formal hearing on February 24, 2025, found that Randazzo had violated these rules. Randazzo did not attend the hearing, although someone claiming to be his sister contacted the disciplinary board, saying he was ill and or hospitalized. The committee found the testimony of Judge Roy and his staff credible, concluding that Randazzo intentionally violated duties owed to the legal system and the legal profession. The committee cited aggravating factors, including a dishonest or selfish motive, obstruction of the disciplinary proceeding, refusal to acknowledge the wrongful nature of his conduct, and his extensive experience in the law. Why am I saying in the law? There was no word "the" there, whatever. While the committee initially considered disbarment, the baseline sanction according to the ABA standards, it ultimately recommended a 3-year suspension with 18 months deferred considering analogous cases. The Supreme Court adopted this recommendation, ordering Randazzo's suspension and assessing him with the costs and expenses of the disciplinary proceedings. According to ABA, Mr. Randazzo is a lawyer in Madisonville, Louisiana. He acquired his law license in Louisiana in 1982. A copy of the original filing can be found here. What's this? This goes to a Dropbox link. Okay, I already read all this. This is the same fucking thing. Alrighty, so moving on. That kind of sums up what we covered in the first live stream. So this is new here. I'm assuming it's going to be a good recap of what we got to know in the first, second, and third live stream, but I haven't read this yet, so I don't really know what the fuck's in here. But at the beginning it says, Sam, Manny, Lawrence, and more. Here's how all the Randazzo king cakes fit under one family tree. And it's from January 21st, 2019. So, the caption here shows that customers line up to buy king cakes at Manny Randazzo King Cakes in Metairie, and it's got a line of some bitches here. It looks like the photo was by Candace Power Graves. And here, it seems like it's like a question-answer situation for this article because it begins with saying, Hey Blake, as my coworkers and I enjoyed the first of what will be many Manny Randazzo's King Cakes this carnival season, we started talking about all the different Randazzo bakeries. Can you help us with a family tree? And the response here seems to be, Dear reader, the Randazzo name has been known for king cakes since 1965, when Sam Randazzo and his 3 sons, Lawrence, Manuel, and Anthony, opened Randazzo's Highland Bakery in Violet. The bakery took its name from a St. Bernard subdivision, supposedly built on high land. According to a 2012 Times-Picayune article, the family originally operated a restaurant and bar on the property called the Camellia Club. The bakery added a Chalmette location in 1971, and king cake sales continued there until 1997. Sam Randazzo died in 1988, and that would be the original Mr. Salvador Randazzo. The Salvador Randazzo that I refer to most of the time would be the younger one. The old guy, he went by the name Sam, which I don't understand because why wouldn't you go by the name Sal? But whatever. Okay, so anyway, it says in 1992, his grandson, Manuel Manny Randazzo Jr., opened Randazzo's Fine Cakes and Pastries on Veterans Memorial Boulevard in Metairie. It later became a full-time king cake operation called Manny Randazzo King Cakes and moved to 3515 North Holland Street in Metairie in 1998. In 1994, 3 of Lawrence Randazzo's children opened Good Children Bakery Shop in Moreau on East Judge Perez Drive, which until 1969 was named Good Children Drive. That bakery closed after Hurricane Katrina. In 1997, Manuel Randazzo Sr.'s daughter, Tricia Randazzo Zorns, and her husband, Louis Zorns, who had worked in the Highland Bakery, opened Randazzo's Camellia City Bakery in Slidell. Though flooded in Hurricane Katrina, it reopened and remains in business. In 2006, Lawrence Randazzo's daughter, Joel Randazzo Forjet, and her husband Felix, both of whom had worked in the original Highland Bakery, opened Nana Randazzo's Italian Bakery and Cafe in Covington. Nana is the Italian word for grandmother. I have no clue if I'm saying that right, so sorry y'all if I said that wrong, but you know what the fuck I mean. There are now 3 other locations of that bakery, including one in St. Bernard Parish, where the family business was born. And I think that's the end of the article here. So yeah, that's a good summary. So I think we did know all that information, but you know, it's good recap, good summary here. So next up, we have got from Tiger Droppings. I think this is an LSU forum because it's like purple, yellow, and all that good shit, and it just looks LSU-y, and it's got like LSU shit up in here on the website, but I don't know shit about this thing. So, basically though, it looks like the original question here posed, I believe, and I believe everybody else is kind of answering to that, was the concept of, is Randazzo's the NOLA version of New York City's Ray's Pizza? How many Randazzos are there? I see signs up all over. Some say Manny Randazzos, some say Randazzo's Camellia City Bakery, some say NOLA Randazzos, others just say Randazzos. Which is the original? The best? I mean, besides DP, I guess they mean Don Phuong, which is another king cake bakery, amazing Vietnamese bakery, yeah. And Haydel's Praline, which are the goats. Yeah, so I used to be a barista at PJ's on Metairie Road, right after I graduated high school, at the beginning of, when I was in college, you know. And so whenever I was there, I actually served Mr. Ryan Haydel and his little Haydel family back at that time, between like 2012 and 2016 or so. So he ended up actually, which is interesting because he now has like kind of, I mean, his kids are the same obviously, but I met his first wife and now he has a different wife, but so that's interesting. But him and his first wife used to always come in and get large iced mochas from PJ's. They used to always get one for each other too. And one of them would come in, I already know, put two on the counter because that's what the fuck they wanted. I mean, if they didn't want them, I wouldn't make them buy it, but yeah, that's what the fuck they always wanted, man. Okay, I'm weird. I'm sorry. What the fuck is wrong with me? I don't know. Sorry, y'all. But anyway, now Mr. Haydel, he married the bitch. She's not a bitch. I don't know her at all. I don't know. I'll randomly call all the people a bitches. I'm not saying she's a bitch. I don't know if she's a bitch or not. But if I call you a bitch, it's because you're my bitch. Yeah. But she does Flirty Girl. And I got some boots from Flirty Girl. I really like my rain boots. I got them from there. And I've had these rain boots for like 5-10 years. So I don't know what brand she got for these rain boots. I don't know what brand they are, but they're real cute and I got them from her. So anyway, that's my Haydel's experience. Obviously the bakery's good too. The original Haydel's, is it the original Haydel's bakery? I don't know, but there's a Haydel's bakery off of Jefferson Highway, and I went to school at Riverdale Middle School and Riverdale High School, which the fact that Riverdale Middle School, when I went to Riverdale Middle, it's now like known as Harahan Elementary, part of the main Riverdale, like the campus is now Harahan Elementary and Riverdale Middle merged with Riverdale High School. But when I went there, Riverdale Middle and Riverdale High had their own separate campuses, and Harahan was at a different campus down Jefferson Highway. So yeah, that shit is wild to me. Okay, I'm sorry, getting back to this thing. I'm gonna have to timestamp this shit. My bad, y'all. But anyway, fucking. And oh yeah, but I had a point before I go. So back when I went to Riverdale, though, I used to go to that Haydel's down in Jefferson, and so and then after I was working at the Vintage on and so yeah, so that's actually kind of funny. So first, whenever I was in middle school and high school, I was over by Haydel, so I was eating at Haydel's. Then I ended up working at PJ's on Metairie Road, and I got to meet Mr. Haydel because he was my fucking regular there. And then I ended up working at the Vintage in 2018, the coffee shop there, and Haydel's Bakery, and it's right by Flirty Girl, and that's how I got my fucking rain boots, I think. It's Haydel's Bakery ended up opening up right by us, and so I ended up going to Haydel's then too. So, it's like, yeah. It's interesting though, because in New Orleans, like, you really, like these chains, the small mom and pop chains, that do last, they really do create memories. And it's like, at every point in my life, I can think of, where was I when I was eating a Don Phuong? Where was I? What was happening to me when I had Haydel's? And it's like the same with Randazzo's too. So, yeah. Okay. For real, now let's keep going. So somebody else had said that they don't like Manny Randazzo's. They said it's like there is lemon in their icing and it's bullshit. Okay. Maybe that was a specific king cake they got. Because I know some people, they will put specific flavors in their icing if you get a flavored king cake. But if you get a regular king cake, a traditional one, most of them don't have those types of flavors. I don't know. Somebody else said, I hate their cheap arse looking sprinkles too. Can y'all just not curse up in here? I don't know, because they're saying bullshit and arse, which typically I love, because one time in high school, like, I went up in my class and I was trying to sell these candy bars for fucking ROTC, and I was like, hey y'all, come here and buy my shit. And my teacher was like, Alexis, and I was like, oh, I'm sorry, come hither and buy my shite, because I had just watched Knight's Tale, and she thought that was fucking funny, and I got away with that. So then I kept saying that in high school. I just kept saying shite, and no one gave a fuck. I don't know, you know. Anyway, so okay, apologies. Somebody else said, I don't know, but that king cake is delish. Somebody else said, Camellia City Bakery is the best. And here we have Camellia City Randazzos, or what I guess would be considered the original. The original bakery was in Chalmette. Manny and Nona's are either cousins or divorced spouses, I believe, that are running those. No, Manny and Nona's, if I'm not mistaken, those two are cousins. Manny and Kaluda's are the people who got divorced, which is, you know, Kaluda and Nona, that kind of sounds close enough. Fuck it. Maybe that's why they got confused. Anyway, it says they all use the original family recipe, though, so they're pretty similar. Edit. I'm wrong. Manny's is run by the grandson of Samuel Randazzo, who opened the original in St. Bernard. Samuel Randazzo's granddaughter, Tricia, opened Camellia City in Slidell. Joel Randazzo, another granddaughter of Sam, owns Nona's. So they're all immediate family, but it's been a bitter fight amongst them all over the years as to who is the original, and they even went to court over who owns the recipe. So this right here, I disagree with them going to court over who owns the recipe. You know why? Because your fucking father created that goddamn recipe. So then it's going, like, you all equally fucking own it, right? And to me, it's like, I think this division right here is what is stopping you from dominating the king cake industry even more. All of you guys should be working together. You know what I'm saying? Y'all should be working together. Y'all have different locations. Y'all could be outsourcing and sharing with each other. Y'all could be working collectively and sharing your resources. You'll be stronger together, in my opinion. Arguing over this bullshit is bullshit. The recipe should be owned by the family corporation that you guys all have shared interest in my opinion, and you all own that recipe, and then any additional for the base recipe, and then any new shit you come up with off of that base can be your own. You know what I'm saying? But like, y'all could have it both ways. Have certain things that's your own that you know you fucking made, let that be yours. But then the shit you know that comes from your goddamn Mr. Salvador Randazzo from that original bakery, I think it's bullshit to be arguing over who is more entitled to your ancestors' teachings when you all have that. You should all use that as your commonality, in my opinion. Like, it's just fucking bullshit. Stop the division. You have this beautiful opportunity to have a family business, to have a dynasty, to continue. Don't fucking squander it. Okay, let's keep going. I'm not gonna watch this. Why the fuck am I talking like this? But you know what? It's just my feelings. And it's also self-projecting because I come from 3 generations of family business owning and trucking. And my dad is a mechanic, and he's an amazing mechanic. He can fix anything. And he's tried to teach my brother. He tried to pass that on to my brother, and my brother was just unwilling. And it's like, so I've seen the effort that my father put in trying to pass on the business to kids who either were not capable or were not willing to do it. And so watching you guys, you're all willing, you're all capable, but what you're lacking is the connection and the community and collaboration. And if you fucking collaborated, y'all could fucking own Louisiana king cake everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, in a way you already do because of your history, but in another way where you're struggling, the reason you have the financial insecurities, you know, because you do a name and likeness, but where y'all are arguing over the finances, I think a lot of that could be resolved if you shared your fucking resources and stopped trying to take legal action against each other. Why are you wasting money that way? You know what I mean? Like, think about how much money you guys have wasted just taking legal action against each other for no fucking reason. Like, shit like that. The fuck? Anyway, okay. Let's read this. So this other person said, I've only ever had Manny's at the corner of Causeway and West Esplanade and the Camellia Randazzo's in Slidell on Highway 11. Both are exactly the same and the best king cakes you'll ever eat. Oh, and Antoine's. Somebody else said, I don't know what the fuck, I'm not paying attention to what they were responding to and I don't feel like scrolling up to see. But someone said, oh, you know what? Oh, this is it. Whoever said, I don't know, but that king cake is delish. Someone else replied saying, man, you ain't lying. Then somebody else said, I really don't care for them at all. Here we've got, would tasty donuts be more in keeping with the Ray's analogy? Another person said, Antoine's is the best damn king cake in New Orleans. End of story. And here we've got another little recap here on the family history. I think this one might have more details than the other articles we looked at. So first up, 1965, at the Hurricane Betsy, Randazzo's Highland Bakery, operated by Sam Randazzo, and his sons Lawrence, Manuel, and Anthony, opens in Violet in what had been the family's Camellia Club restaurant and bar, started in the early 1950s. Was the bar started in 1950? Oh, that's interesting. The old dance hall becomes the bakery. 1971, Randazzo's Highland Bakery opens another location at 613 West Judge Perez Drive in Chalmette. The two locations operate simultaneously for a few years. 1974, Manuel Randazzo decides to branch out on his own and converts the two-car garage at his Moreau home to open the Randazzo and Zorns Bakery with son-in-law Louis Zorns, husband of Manuel's daughter, Tricia Randazzo Zorns, who trained at the Highland Bakery. After a few months, the space is deemed too small for the volume of business. Manuel returns to the family bakery. Zorns leaves the bakery business. In 1988, that's when my brother was born, Samuel Randazzo dies. The bakery is operated by his sons and their children. 1992, Manuel Manny Randazzo Jr., son of Manuel, opens his own full-service bakery in Metairie, Randazzo's Fine Cakes and Pastries. The family bakery makes headlines when one of Manny's uncles files a lawsuit challenging his use of the family name and the king cake recipe developed at the Chalmette Bakery, while also alleging that his brothers are trying to push him out of the business. The lawsuit is later dropped. So right here, this says that occurred in 1992, but in this other article, it says that it occurred in 1995. So I don't know if that happened in 1992 or 1995. I wasn't, you know what I mean? Technically I was here, but I was a baby. But, well, toddler. I don't know. But, yeah. So, what I do believe, though, is if it was Mr. Lawrence, as published by NOLA.com, who is the father of Salvador J. Randazzo, if he was the one that was initially kind of beginning this legal action against the family members, I do kind of believe that how Mr. Salvador J. Randazzo may be acting today could be learned behavior from his father, Mr. Lawrence. You know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken, in terms of the ideology and the mindset there. Because I don't understand how your brothers shining would be pushing you out of business when you can all work together. I feel like it comes off as jealousy, in my opinion, because them existing shouldn't stop you from shining. You know what I mean? You need to focus on yourself. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a twin. I've been compared to my twin my entire fucking life. So, we get compared to each other. Like, neither of us are capable of impacting the other's success. Whether or not each of us are successful is of our own efforts. However, I believe we are both more successful together. You know what I'm saying? So, in my opinion, the only thing that is pushing any of the Randazzo family out of business is when they are unwilling to work together, in my opinion. And I do also understand, like, wanting to make it on your own. Like, having a family business, but wanting to show the road and show your family and prove to yourself that you can do it yourself. That you don't necessarily need to work off of the back of your family's business, that you can take that training, take those teachings, and make it on your own. I also see value in that. I don't believe that has to mean that you're unwilling to collaborate, though. You know what I mean? I think that comes when you start taking legal action against each other, though. Like, the fuck? Why? That I don't understand. Okay, anyway, let's move on. Here it says 1993, Joel Randazzo Forjet, daughter of Lawrence Randazzo, starts her own business, Randazzo's King Cake Express, which handles shipping for Highland Bakery. In 1994, Mickey Randazzo, wife of Manuel Randazzo Sr., dies. Trisha Randazzo Zorns leaves the court reporting profession and takes over her mother's work at the Highland Bakery. In 1994, 3 of Lawrence Randazzo's children, Sal Randazzo, Patrina Randazzo, and Joel Randazzo Forjet, opened Good Children Bakery Shop in Moreau, named after its location on Good Children Street, later renamed Judge Perez Drive. In 1995, Manny Randazzo Jr. goes to seasonal king cake only business, open to the public during carnival season. In 1996, Manuel Randazzo Sr. retires from baking. In 1996, Randazzo's Highland Bakery in Chalmette closes, but reopens for 1997 carnival season. Doors never reopen after Lundi Gras. October 1997, Trisha Randazzo Zorns and her husband Louis open Randazzo's Camellia City Bakery in Slidell. March 3rd, 1998, Lawrence J. Randazzo dies at age 72. March 30th, 2005, Anthony J. Randazzo dies at age 81, leaving no children. August 29th, 2005, Katrina and flooding destroy both the Good Children Bakery in Moreau and Randazzo's Camellia City Bakery in Slidell, along with the homes of the owners and employees. Late 2005, Randazzo's Camellia City Bakery reopens in Slidell as a seasonal king cake business open to the public only during carnival season. 2006, Joel Randazzo Forjet and her husband Felix, who started working at the Highland Bakery while in high school, opened Nona's Italian Bakery and Cafe as a full-service bakery in Covington. 2008, Diane Randazzo, ex-wife of Manny Jr., opens Diane Randazzo LLC Bakery in Elmwood. Manny Jr. files a lawsuit. A judge rules that the recipe, which came from Diane's new business partner, cannot be called a Randazzo's King Cake. I do agree with that. Honestly, I think it worked out better this way. Anyway, so in 2011, Nona Randazzo's opens a second location in Chalmette, run by Kayla and Felix Forjet III, son of Felix and Randazzo Forjet, once again giving St. Bernard Parish a bakery with the Randazzo name. So yeah, so basically, in terms of the Donna marrying in and trying to start, not Donna, Diane, apologies. In terms of Diane marrying in and trying to use the name that she married into, I can kind of see, and she's not even using their base recipe, I can absolutely understand why they don't want their name and their brand associated with a recipe that's not from their family. You know what I mean? So I 100% think that it should have been named something else. Like, it's way... you know what I mean? Like, why would you, like, yeah, it makes me more sense. And you can still use the Randazzo name in the marketing without muddling those waters, in my opinion. But yeah, so, and then, but when it comes to the Randazzo family trying to sue other actual descendants of Salvador Randazzo over who is more of the owner to the recipe, I think that is absolute bullshit. And I don't like whoever the fuck is doing that. You know what I mean? So, fuck you guys. Anyway. But, I just feel like that's greedy. Y'all should be sharing that success, sharing that inheritance. It's like, I don't know. Like, on one level, I do understand, too, also, when you own a business, for example, like, whoever is actually putting the work into the business obviously deserves to get compensated for that work. So, it's not to negate that, but it's just to say who has more of a right to um, the family legacy, that I feel is ridiculous to argue over. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so somebody else has said Manny is the only one that matters. He is in Metairie and probably sells 10 times more than all the other family named places combined. Um, I think that his business model, that he was probably able to get away from his family and execute his business model in a way that worked for him because he was shutting down seasonally before everybody else, right? And so him doing stuff like that, or he was recognizing, okay, why am I wasting resources during dead season where it would cost way more to stay open than I would make in sales when I could just open for the busy season. I thought that was really smart. So you can see on just on the timeline alone where he made certain decisions that his family was not making that I do believe enabled him to produce more volume. But I don't believe, from what I can tell from anything that's public record, that anything he did to keep himself going could have harmed his family. And matter of fact, I think when one of them is more successful, it makes them all more successful. For example, I know that Beyonce is way more famous than Solange. However, I've never in my life heard anybody act like Solange was anything less than amazing. And everybody fucking loves how Solange handled Jay-Z in the elevator, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. You know, I don't feel that when one family member is more successful than the other. Like, look at Selena Quintanilla. Everybody knows Selena. Not everybody could recognize her family members off the street. But everybody's gonna fucking know Selena, right? But that didn't stop them from all coming together as a band, now did it? You know what I'm saying? Now, like, when you look at that, I believe being attached to a family member who is doing better than you isn't going to be a reason you're not doing well. Matter of fact, it can help you do better. And so I think that what made them not do well was putting their energy into dragging down their family instead of focusing their energy on uplifting everybody, including themselves. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So somebody else said to the idea that Emmanuel sells 10 times more than all the other family named places combined. Somebody said, obviously you've never been to or had a Camellia City king cake. Go to kingcake.com and tell me which bakery comes up. It's literally the first result on Google when searching king cake. Camellia City kills Manny's every day. I don't understand how Camellia City buying the king cake domain means that they are better at king cakes or not. But, you know, I think everybody can have their own opinion. To be honest, though, I don't really notice a fucking difference in the Randazzo king cakes, but that could be because I'm a basic-ass bitch. I just want my plain, simple-ass, traditional fucking king cake. I don't like the stuffings. I don't like the fillings. I just want my fucking cinnamon shit, bitches. Alright? Anyway, so, to me, yeah, I don't know. But, anyway, yeah. Okay, I'm good. So, somebody else has said, whatever, watch the lines and read about it, lol. Somebody else was responding to the quote from I don't like many Randazzos, there I said it, it's like there's lemon in their icing and it's bullshit. Someone said, did you get the lemon-filled lemon-filled king cake or something? Manny's is awesome, I don't know what you ate. Yeah, that's what I was saying before, I was like, cause they don't usually put flavor in the filling unless it's a flavored king cake. Usually if there's icing. You know what the fuck I meant. They don't usually put flavor in the icing unless it's a filled king cake. Usually if it's a traditional king cake, they don't usually put flavor in the icing. It's usually like a vanilla base if I'm not mistaken. So somebody else said, my pharmacist buys a bunch from Manny's and sells them. No lines for me. Another person said, Don Fong and Antoine's are the top dogs to me. West Bank is where it's at for king cakes, unless you get a Don Fong from Pizza NOLA. Amore in Old Gretna also sells Don Fongs. I like the raised pizza analogy though with Randazzo's. I lost track a few years ago. In response to Don Fong, somebody says, and it ain't even really close. Anyone that says otherwise hasn't had one. And then somebody else said, in terms of, whether Randazzo had the best king cake, somebody said Don Juan Bakery in NOLA East, hands down. Somebody else said in relation to Don Juan that it's their personal favorite. It's a unique cake where the icing complements the incredibly great tasting bread or pastry, unlike Randazzo cakes that are smothered in the overpowering sugar icing. Another person had some tonight, would rather Randazzo's. I guess they meant to, it's a reply to maple or whatever, so I guess they meant to the Don Juan, that they would rather Randazzo's to Don Juan. So, somebody else said, I grew up on Mackenzie's. I don't think I had them. The round iced ones were good and much cheaper than Randazzo's. Nowadays, I mainly buy Randazzo's, but Antoine's and Haydel's are about as good too. Haydel's is pretty good. Oh, another thing about Haydel's is Mr. Ryan Haydel would always bring, every year for Mardi Gras, he would bring us baristas at PJ's on Metairie Road a king cake. And I thought that was really nice. Like, you know what I mean? To be a bakery owner, bringing your baristas a king cake, that's really nice. But yeah, Mr. Haydel would always fucking bring us a king cake. Anyway, like, I worked at PJ's, for 4 years, and he brought us a fucking king cake every fucking year. So yeah, I thought that was really nice. He treats service industry workers well, I can say that. Or at least he did me. Anyway, and the staff at PJ's, like, everybody liked them. Let's see here. Somebody else had said, in relation, I think they're in relation to, I don't know, to Randazzo's, I don't know, but somebody had said both are exactly the same and the best king cakes you'll ever eat. Somebody else said, have you tried Don Juan? Somebody said, I have to say I see more Nona Randazzo's than anyone else. She sells herself everywhere, it seems. I only know Florida girl to sell Manny's besides the place in Fat City. This was before Florida girl married Haydel, if I'm not mistaken. So I wonder if she still sells Manny Randazzo's, or if now she sells Haydel's, or she does both. Okay, so then it says, lately I have seen Nona's at every Brothers gas station and Magnolia gas station. They have a sweet distribution deal for sure. Somebody else had said they all suck and live off hype alone. Damn. Somebody else said, 2008, Diane Randazzo, ex-wife of Manny Jr., opens Diane Randazzo LLC Bakery in Elmwood. Somebody else had said, isn't this now Kaluta's king cake? I like those a lot. It is Kaluta's. I don't think I've had Kaluta's. And we got a couple more things to read here. Someone said, my family had a 4-week tournament, and this week it's the 2 finalists, Don Juan versus Haydel's Praline. Though I have never had Antoine's, so many told me to get Mackenzie's or Haydel, but both were so plain, I had to make them into bread pudding to enjoy. Ooh. Okie dokie. Somebody else had said, in relation to Don Juan, I do like this one. I like how it's a bit more fluffy, less dense pastry. Somebody has said the only complaint I have against Don Juan is that you get a filled cake, and maybe half the cake won't have enough filling to taste. And here we have, though the dough is so good, and the frosting is not overpowering at all, Randazzo's is too much. I got an unfilled yesterday from Pizza NOLA, and it was, in my opinion, just as good as the cream cheese, though their blueberry and strawberry are really good too. Chris's Meats sells Haydel's, so it's easy for me to stop in Lakeview and get one of each and head home to be fat. And here we have somebody that said, this debate does not really have an answer in my opinion. I've been out to Don Juan and gotten a king cake. Still warm out of the oven, which was unreal. It lives up to the hype. However, having grown up on Randazzo's and Nona's, those are hard to beat too. All are slightly different, although I think Don Juan's bread is what makes it, and the icing is eh. Also, I recommend Haydel's for another damn good king cake. Next up, somebody had said, in reply to, wasn't Diane Randazzo's king cake now named Kaluta's king cake? Somebody had said, yep. Part of the issue with that lawsuit as well was the name she was trying to use at first. After Manny paid her a shite ton of money after the divorce, she thought it would be cool to open up shop and call her cakes M. Randazzo. M is one of the kids' first letter of name. Yeah, because there's Manny Jr. That definitely wasn't going to fly. I agree. Yeah, that was underhanded, Miss Diane. Damn. getting a little greedy there now, aren't ya? Anyway, somebody else said, I saw a different Randazzo name in a gas station the other day. It was something like Haywood and Randazzo. It was mini king cakes and looked like shite. They really like the word shite here. So, somebody else said, it really will be our versions of Ray's in 20 years. There will be at least a dozen Randazzos. Book it. So I wonder if Ray's is like a franchise there, and that's what they're referring to, a franchise. I don't think that the Randazzo family business is going to franchise because they would have to unify first if they were going to properly franchise out the name. Because if one of them tries to franchise the name without the other, I guarantee you they're going to fucking sue each other. Look at this family history. So if they were going to franchise, they would have to come to agreement first. And I think that would be a really good way for them to actually make a lot of money and do really well. I actually think that would be really smart of them. But they would have to be able to settle their differences and even, at least have procedures in place for how to handle business when they're not getting along, and follow those procedures instead of unnecessarily taking legal action against each other. You know what I mean? Anyway, so somebody else had said Norma with a question mark. I wonder if they mean Nona's, but I don't know. I've never heard of a Norma king cake. There's Norma's Bakery in New Orleans that I know of, but they are, I believe Norma's, if I'm not mistaken, isn't that a Honduran bakery? Why do I think that? But it's definitely Latino owned, Norma's Bakery. They do things like tres leche and, what is that? Doce pan thing? Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Lo siento porque no sé esa mierda, pero es muy bien. That shit is good. I don't know what the fuck it is though. Anyway, they got like this sweet bread shit. Like they got real good shit. But I don't know. I don't know if they do king cakes or not. But that's the only Normas that I know of. Anyway, and the last comment here says, I suck at reading cursive. Where the fuck was their cursive? Oh, I thought it was Norma. I never really looked into it. It's Nona. Oh, now I see. Okay. Yeah. Seeing that logo on a sign while driving by, my mind thinks Norma. You really do suck at reading cursive if you think Nana is Norma. Apologies, that was probably rude of me. But okay. So, that was that. Now let's move on. So, the reason we are here today is the December 1994 claim here by NOLA.com. Family members slap and push each other during an argument, leading to misdemeanor charges and a lawsuit. 5 family members got into a name-calling spat turned physical. One of Lawrence's children, Lorene Randazzo, filed a civil suit against family members alleging severe and disabling injuries, as well as severe emotional and mental distress. So, this right here. Oh, and before we move on, also right here it says 1995 that Lawrence filed a lawsuit. In the forum we just looked at, they claimed this happened in 1992. I don't know if this happened in 1992, if it happened in 1995, or if it happened at all. All I can tell you is these bitches reported it. Anyway, so back to 1994. I had tried to find legal documents on this physical altercation, but I could not find that. But you know what I did find? Another article. This is the 5 Family Feuds from Southeast Louisiana article. Now, I know what you're thinking. Fuck, this bitch has a paywall, so now we can't fucking look at it. No need to fear, my friends. Here's how we're gonna get behind that paywall. I love technology. So we're gonna right click. It's not showing on share screen, but I am right clicking right now. I am hovering over the view page source button. We are going to click that view page source button, and now we have the site code. Okie dokie. What we want to read is about Randazzo family history. So I'm going to hit Control F. Now I can search through the code. Now what I'm going to search for is Randazzo. And what we can do is read this article from the code. Okie dokie. So, I'm just going to read the Randazzo portion. So here's about the Randazzo family feud. Okie dokie. The Randazzo family has been in the bakery business since 1965, spawning spin-offs in Vallet, Chalmette, St. Tammany, and Metairie. Expansions from the original Randazzo's bakery have caused internal disputes over the years after founder Sam Randazzo left the business to his three sons, Lawrence, Anthony, and Manny. When Manny opened his bakery in Metairie in 1992, Lawrence filed a lawsuit against him for using the family name and recipe without compensating the original shop. The lawsuit was later dropped. Yeah, because it was fucking bullshit. In 2008, after her divorce from Manny, Diane Randazzo struck out on her own. Manny sought a temporary injunction to the bar. Manny sought a temporary injunction to bar her from using the Randazzo name in a way that would confuse customers and make them think her cakes were his. However, Diane said she never signed a non-compete agreement. Her bakery, which was called Diane's King Cakes, is now called Kaluta's King Cakes. Is that the end? God damn it, that's disappointing. Alright, y'all, my bad. I feel like I accidentally misled you guys because I was over here thinking that we're going to get more information about the physical altercation of 1994. But because whenever I was Googling the family fight from then, this article came up, and I don't know why I thought that was going to be about it. But now I'm wondering, could that physical altercation have had anything to do with the lawsuit? Because here they're saying that the bakery business that the lawsuit was over, opened in 1992. They're claiming that bakery is in 1992, and then they're claiming in 1995 there was a lawsuit over that, and they're also claiming in 1994 there was a physical altercation. Was that what the physical altercation was about? I don't know, I'm speculating. So I'm trying to find more records on the physical altercation, but that's the closest thing I could find. Whenever you look up the physical altercation of 1994, all you can find are those two NOLA.com articles that we have reviewed. So yeah. So just to wrap things up though, we got a few more articles I want to, not articles, these are court records. We have a few more court records that I want to look over, but these have some sensitive information, so I need to be very careful with what I'm showing on the screen as we look at it. But I think it also, besides the 1992 through 1995 legal dispute, as well as the physical altercation of 1994, I think these three court records can also give further context as to the disputes that we have been processing in the last three live streams as it relates to, so Mr. Salvador Randazzo, he fought with his siblings. Two of his sisters, one of his sisters was on his side, and two of his sisters was against him when it came to how they were handling his parents' inheritance. And so they got him removed as the person in charge of the estate. You know what I'm saying? So that was an altercation. Another altercation happened where Mr. Salvador Randazzo tried to sue his family to prevent them from taking any legal action, where they were trying to negotiate with St. Bernard Parish about some other property issues. And in that lawsuit, the way Mr. Salvador Randazzo acted is how he ended up getting suspended from the Louisiana State Bar. So that, you know what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to process and put all of that into context. I might do a different live stream eventually where I try to give y'all a better timeline of these altercations. I don't know. But anyway, so first of all, we're going to look here. This is the case of Salvador J. Randazzo versus Mrs. Kendal J. Meyers. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong. And we're going to get to how this is related to family in Two Shakes of a Lamb's Tail. It was filed on December 18th, 2013. December 18th happens to be my dad's birthday. So yeah. So we're going to look at this. Hold on. Let me scroll down a second. I don't want to show you guys. I just want to make sure I'm not accidentally showing any personal information. So we see here that the case here is a revocatory action. All right, a revocatory action is the case type. The case status is that it was filed here on December 18, 2013. Hold on. Okay. Now, in terms of party information, I do not want to show my screen right now because, or can I? You know what? Aha! Ooh, this is great. Okay, hold on. So I just found out how I'm gonna redact this shit. So in terms of the party information, I'm not showing all of the screen because I don't want to show the physical addresses. But here, we've got for the plaintiff, we have Mr. Salvador J. Randazzo. Our defendants are Mr. Felix E. Forjet, which would be Mr. Randazzo's brother-in-law, Mr. Joel Randazzo Forjet, which would be Mr. Randazzo's sister, and Kendal J. Meyers, as well as Patrina Randazzo Meyers, and Joel Randazzo. These are all relatives of Mr. Salvador and Patrina Randazzo. These are relatives, if I'm not mistaken, of Mr. Salvador J. Randazzo here. All right. And so this is from 2021. Would be when the case events were happening up until 2021, but it began in 2013. Okay, hold on. Now, again, this was a revocatory action lawsuit filed. Okay, it's revocatory. Now, hold on. Let me scroll down real quick. To show you guys. A lot of this is a bunch of legal shit. Hold on, let me scroll past the addresses. Okay. So a bunch of this is a bunch of legal shit that I just don't know. It's not that I don't care. I just cannot process it. I believe nothing here should be showing any of their personal information though. But there is something here. So, where is it? Marco, where the fuck is it? Apologies, y'all. I thought I was here already. Okay. So, we see here that we have transaction and financial assessments. Why did I think that it was going? What I'm looking for is, I don't know the law enough to tell you guys what the fuck I'm looking for. Apologies, y'all. I feel like I sound crazy. I'm gonna have to timestamp this. Hold on. How long is this? I thought this had. Aha. Yes. Here it is. So here we see escrow deposits, and this is a case of an escrow balance. Alrighty. So we're talking about revocatory action. Revocatory action, it's a legal procedure in Louisiana. It allows creditors to annul debtors' fraudulent contract or prejudice creditors' ability to collect on their debt. So it has to do with debt collection. Now, it has to do with the escrow. When it comes to this, it has to do with a legal procedure that allows creditors to challenge and annul contract made by a debtor. Okay? An escrow indicates that an item, such as money or property, is being held by a third party until legal conditions have been met to transfer it. So, related to an escrow, and I'm assuming typically when things are related to escrow, it typically has to do with real estate. It typically has to do with property transfer. It could be either the purchase or sale of a home, or it could be having to do inheritance of property. I don't know the details of this case. All I can tell you is that there was a case filed related to escrow, related to revocatory action. This was filed originally in 2013, going on as late until 2021, and it was Mr. Salvador J. Randazzo against his siblings, the Forjet Randazzos, who own Nona's Bakery, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so here we see that legal action. Now, what else do we have? Next up, we have another case. Here we see Mr. Salvador J. Randazzo's sister, Joel Randazzo Forjet versus Salvador J. Randazzo. This time, she's the plaintiff, he's the defendant. Okay, this was filed 2014. Filed 2014. Let me make sure I'm not showing you any information, private information here. All right, so the case type here is damages. When it comes to the law, typically damages are when you are proving that someone has injured you or caused you to lose money, so that the remedy can be for you to recover money or assets related to that loss. Typically, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not an attorney. All right, so we know that the case type here is damages. We know it was filed 2014. And so this was filed after Mr. Salvador filed his case against his sister. She filed a different one on him. You know what I'm saying? All right. Now let's scroll down here. I'm gonna see. So on here, and it wasn't just that one sister. We have here for the plaintiffs, we've got Ms. Joel Randazzo Forjet here, but for the defendants, we've got Patrina Randazzo. Actually, I apologize. The plaintiffs, this confused me a little bit. So the plaintiffs, we got Joel Randazzo Forjet, Patrina Randazzo Meyers, Joel Randazzo, and Patrina Randazzo against Lorene and Salvador J. Randazzo. So this same schism carried out into the execution of the properties as well in that other lawsuit we saw related to that. Okay? Now, let's scroll down here. Let's see what information we get. Okay, this part has already been in public record because it's what the legal dispute was over the real estate. Well, I guess it's real estate over the will, estate and probate case. But here we see over the Jade Court property that they were arguing about. These are 2021 records related to that. So these last two Judy records that we've been looking at, I do not know if these two records are affiliated with the case that we looked at in the previous live streams, or if these are separate cases. I don't know if they're connected to that, if this is documentation from those same cases, or if these are separate cases. I don't know. Okay. But basically, what we know here is that this is a case filed related to damages related to that property that they were in dispute over, related to who was going to inherit it, who owned it, and all of that. And we see we have escrow documentation being filed here as well as it relates to this property. And so, yeah, there's more legal filings available, and the link for this is in the description of the video. And then last but not least, in context of all of this situation, I want to point out to you guys, next up, why would Mr. Salvador J. Randazzo be suing his family? You know what I'm saying? So here we have Capital One National Association versus Salvador Randazzo. And this was filed July 20th, 2016. And we know at this time, the first Salvador Randazzo has been passed away for a bit now. May he rest in peace. So we know for sure that this is Salvador J. Randazzo, in my opinion, potentially, I think. All right. So we see here we got Capital One National Association versus Salvador Randazzo. Let me make sure I'm not showing anything here. Now, the case type. What is this case type? Promissory note. This was filed 2016. What is a promissory note case type? That is when somebody is not making payments, typically for loans. Okay? Now we can Google this if you're not. So a promissory note case typically refers to a legal dispute over a promissory note. It's often involve a lender suing a borrower for non-payment. All right? Okay, so I believe Mr. Randazzo right here is getting sued by the bank for not paying. Okay. And this was as of 2016. Now, I don't know the outcome of this case, but what I do know is the fact that this case was happening definitely must have put some financial pressure onto Mr. Salvador Randazzo. And what I also know is, you can see from these documentations that these court records were being filed as late as 2018. And so, in my opinion, you know what I'm saying, like, it started 2016. Even in 2019, they were finding copies related to it. But I believe the document was happening 2018, from when you scroll up above. You know what I'm saying? When the last hearings was related to 2018. But yeah, so you can see here, Mr. Randazzo, he owed Capital One some money. I don't know how much it was, if it was a little. I don't know if these amounts here are related to court costs or if it was related to how much he owes Capital One or what. But what I do know is Capital One sued him for not paying up, if I understand this documentation correctly. And so I think all of this documentation, when you look at it together, kind of really gives you some insight into the decision-making process behind the Randazzo family. Like, why are they the way they are? You know what I'm saying? Particularly in Mr. Salvador Randazzo, we see that his father was kind of blaming the other family being successful for why he wasn't successful. But I believe that was a mistake, and I don't believe that that was logical correlation in my understanding. And I already discussed why. But basically, in a nutshell, it's because whenever you're in proximity to somebody who is doing really, really well, the only thing that could make you, like, feel bad is your own insecurity. When you're in proximity to people doing well, that is their platform. Your proximity in their platform gives you a connection and an association. Like, literally, with search engine optimization, when somebody searches for Randazzos, you're all going to pop up. Yeah, one of you is going to pop up first at the end of the day. However, that's going to change. Ebbs and flows and algorithms and all of that. And it also will change person by person for what each person has their algorithm primed based on their behavior. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. So I think that original jealousy where I believe it was Mr. Lawrence who wanted to retain control, and I think that type of control issue was kind of passed on to Mr. Salvador Randazzo, in my opinion. When you look at how it's kind of like him against his entire family, from what I understand. And you look at the source origin of what it could tell us. But, I don't know shit about the family. There could be, like, way more to it that we just don't know. It's just like, this is what's public record, and I can understand why people make certain inferences based on the public record. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So yeah. I might try and put together, like, a little better timeline, and try and put together a better processing of all of this information from this long form content of 6 hours to where I can give y'all the highlights of this research. But for now, I think it's just useful to reflect on what does it mean for us to build family businesses? Why are we building that? Who are we passing it on to? What procedures can we put in place to keep families and businesses together and things of that nature? I think it's interesting to reflect on using Randazzo family as a case study. So yeah, how about them king cakes? Anyway, I hope you all enjoy your Mardi Gras season when it comes up. We got months for that shit anyway, but fuck it. I don't know. I feel like though, like, cause king cake season starts January 6th. It's like November right now, so I feel like this is the time to prepare for king cake season and get your king cake ads going. I will finish up here with a little recipe for you. Here's how I make my king cake syrups, so that way I can make king cake coffee, lattes, and things of that nature. I like to make a vanilla bean syrup base. If I can use whole vanilla beans, I will, but if you don't have access to actual vanilla beans because they're expensive, vanilla bean paste is my second go-to favorite, and then vanilla extract is the next thing I'll use. If I can use Mexican vanilla extract, like melpomene, that's my favorite. But yeah, so I like to do a vanilla based simple syrup, and then I like to add almond extract to that as well as cinnamon. And I like to do vanilla, almond, and cinnamon for my king cake syrups. And whenever I'm doing wedding cake syrups, I just do vanilla and almond. I was saying the word vanilla. Okay, never mind. Caption guy eventually. Yeah, whenever I'm doing wedding cake, I just do vanilla, almond in this fall. For king cake, I like vanilla, almond, and cinnamon. It's real good. Anyway, so if you're looking for a king cake recipe for your coffees, try it out with your simple syrup. So yeah, thank you for joining me today. I feel like my conclusion is a little off. So far with my conclusion though, basically I just kind of processed my final thoughts on all of this right now. And with like what we talked about today, basically, we started off kind of recapping what we previously covered by going over Mr. Attorney Salvador's suspension as well as the history of Randazzo family king cakes. We also looked at general social commentary on the Randazzo family and the Randazzo history timeline. We looked at what I could find online about the family disputes. I was trying to find information about the family physical altercation, but I could find no court records of it, and the only evidence I could find of it online is what we saw from NOLA.com. I thought that the 5 Family Feuds from Southeast Louisiana article was going to have more of that information, but I did not read it for this live stream. I'm sorry. And so it let me down. So sorry if that came off as misleading when I talked about wanting to get more information on that. That's my bad. But it is why we're here today still. And then last but not least, we finished up by going over some court records between the Randazzo family and his siblings, as well as it relates to Mr. Randazzo getting sued by the bank for not paying up on a loan, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, we looked at all of that as it relates to context of the financial struggles, the mental struggles, and the familial issues related to the divide of his family. And we've just been kind of reflecting on, I've been saying a lot that I would love for this family to have policies and procedures in place for reunification. I think on top of putting together a timeline that kind of shows you guys my logic, that's another thing I kind of want to touch on. What could the Randazzo family do to create systems for sustainability long term? I think I'll give you guys my theories on that. And also, Mr. Salvador Randazzo, if you do see this, whenever I filed my complaint against the attorney I work for with the Louisiana State Bar, I made a performance improvement plan video on him and his law firm about what I thought he could do if he got suspended or disbarred or anything like that. What I thought he could do for his reputation management and for his career improvement. If that is something that interests you or that you're concerned about, I would check out my performance improvement plan video and see if that helps you or not. If it works for you, leave it doesn't. I don't know. But I mean, maybe that could help you if you are worried about like your legal reputation or some shit. Anyway, so thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys. If I feel like I can cohesively put together a better timeline or put together where I think could be some policies or procedures for the Randazzo family, I'll follow up with that. So yeah, I hope you have a great day and bye. Thanks for watching. Join the loyalty program at noladeafchild.com/loyalty and check in during live streams to get points for rewards.